Hello, everybody, and welcome to the NCR.
Hello. I am HESS,
And I am Believe.
and we are going to be playing some ARMS.
Yes, we've got a tournament going on here, and we've got some amazing players.
From all over the country.
Indeed. Right now, we've got Dendy and Tuturoopa coming up against each other.
Yeah. So this is one of the first big events that ARMS has been able to make it out to, one of the big FGC events. What are some basic things about ARMS do you think that people watching for the first time should know?
This is a game very heavily... This game is very involved with movement and reading your opponent and being able to react on it. It's a very reactionary fighting game, unlike games like Street Fighter or Tekken where you've got a lot of combos and setups. ARMS is about pressuring your opponent, moving around to evade their attacks, and learning how they act and countering with your own setup.
Mm-hmm. I think that we are going to be headed here to Bustah Beach. That is considered a pretty, what's it called? A pretty standard stage for this game.
Generally, it's a stage that has a lot going in on it. It's a pretty long one. It's also fairly narrow. Mm-hmm. It has what the community likes to call the hot pocket, which is a little ditch right at the end.
Yeah, you don't want to get stuck there.
No, that gives somebody else the higher ground, and they get a decent amount of advantage from that.
Yeah.
There's also going to be what I like to call a little tennis table, and that prevents players from being able to close the gap really quickly. You actually can see on the picture right there. It just allows a little more defensive play in a stage that might otherwise be incredibly aggressive.
So we're going to be seeing Master Mummy versus Bite and Bark. What do you think about this matchup, Malief?
This is very much a very defensive matchup. So it might be a little bit slower than some of the other ones that you're going to be seeing going on, but both of the characters still are going to be doing lots of movement going on. A defensive character in ARMS still is very proactive. What a defensive character generally does is their presence enough just causes pressure that encourages the opponent to have to respond.
And we're seeing Dendy come out with a lot of grabs right here.
And Tuturoopa's going to get a rush and just counter a lot of these. So the combat of ARMS is very rock, paper, scissors.
Right.
Grabs beat, defending beats attacking, and attacking beats grabbing.
Right.
And we kind of saw that here with a lot of those grabs being countered, and Tuturoopa, the Bite and Bark, being able to apply a lot of damage and just push back on him.
Now, Dendy's a very corner-happy mummy. That's to say that he likes to grab a lot of people when he gets him in the corner, but it's looking like Tuturoopa's not really letting him do that.
No, as both very important to hold that ground and just have space to work with. So a character that gets back in the corner, they're going to really struggle with getting out of that corner because they're just going to be out defense because one's going to have a lot more freedom.
Yeah. So Bite and Bark's one of the only... There are two characters in this game that are considered puppet characters. That would be Bite and Bark and Masongo. Bite and Bark has an additional arm on the dog that you're seeing that's getting hit down occasionally. And, so that is round 2 to Tuturoopa.
And that's going to be the first set. If I'm not mistaken, this is actually... Each of these matches are going to be a best of 3.
Yeah,
and whoever gets those two are successful and moving on in the winner's bracket, and the loser will be moving on into the loser's bracket.
So Dendy's going to be considering counterpick stages. What type of stage do you think that a mummy like Dendy should be going to?
He's definitely going to want to apply a lot of pressure here, so he might try to go for something a little more tight-knit. Mm-hmm. Some stages like Via Dolce, we've got Sparring Ring. Mausoleum might work, but it can potentially work against him if that platform in the middle breaks.
Right. So it looks like we're going to be going to Via Dolce.
Now, this stage is the stage is themed after one of the characters, Lollipop. We may see her later in the tournament. But right now, we're just going to continue with Master Mummy and Bite and Bark. This stage is really narrow with a couple of really big turns. You'll also notice that if you're in the middle of the stage, once again, you have the high ground, and that allows you to get better angles for your attacks. Bite and Bark, you notice he jumps on his dog,
Right.
and that allows him to get some really nice height advantages.
Ooh, Dendy coming in with a nice grab right at the beginning.
Master Mummy, famous for his 200 damage grab.
And that is half of his health right at the beginning of the round. My word.
Yeah, Master Mummy only needs to do like it only would take 5 grabs from a Master Mummy to be able to take an opponent down. And there's times where you just get the pressure to set up right, where you get those 5 grabs.
Yeah. Dendy is just spamming those grabs right now.
He's done a really good job of applying a lot of pressure, and he pushed Tuturoopa into a corner. He almost was able to take Tuturoopa down, but now he's pushing back and is starting to bring Dendy to the corner himself.
Dendy's going to expend that rush there, and that is the round. So it's looking like this counter pick's going pretty well for him.
Especially since Master Mummy's not as defensive as Bite and Bark, so he's definitely needing to try to push a little bit harder, and this is definitely a stage that's going to help him out with that.
Certainly. Now, what are those arms that Tuturoopa's rocking on his Bite and Bark?
We've got the Tri-Blast, which is a very famous arm in the ARMS community. Basically, long story short, for what an arm is, it's just the boxing glove at the end of their hands, which can be like the Tri-Blast, the Thunderbird that's on Master Mummy, or the golden boxing glove that Tuturoopa has.
The Roaster.
Yes. So the two that Tuturoopa have, the Tri-Blast, it's very fast, it does a lot of light explosion damage, and it allows for really good pressure, which we see Tuturoopa using really well just to chip away a lot of Master Mummy's health.
Taking round 2.
Takes the second round. He also has the Roaster, which is incredibly fast punching glove that does a high amount of fire damage. The downside to that arm, or upside depending on how experienced you are with aiming it, is it lacks homing. Most of the arms in this game do have some manner of homing, where the Roaster lacks all of that.
I see.
That can allow you to get some really good reads, get some really good hits on your opponent, but it can also make you miss a lot of shots.
Yeah. So Tuturoopa's sitting on a rush right now. Puts him in a pretty good place. He can pressure him in the corner.
And Master Mummy, or Dendy, was put into a position where he might have been knocked out by that. Luckily, he survives, and he has a little bit more of an opportunity to keep pushing through this.
Now, it looks like Dendy might be out of it, but he is one confirm away from taking the kill. But there he gets killed, and that's 2-0 Tuturoopa. Good job, Tutu.
Congratulations. Tutor's going to continue on into the winner's bracket, and Dendy is going to have to start climbing through the loser's bracket.
So it's looking like the next match coming up on stage is going to be Happy Medicine versus Double D.
So
Happy Medicine isn't a player I'm familiar with.
I haven't come across him either, but any new member to the community, any new competitors, I'm perfectly fine. I love seeing them.
Yeah, we're looking for lots. We have a nice community set up on the ARMS Central Discord. If anyone is watching from the ARMS Central, please put up a link in the chat. We are pretty active on Twitter. We have r/arms on Reddit. So there are plenty of ways to get into this game. We have a nice ranked mode that is a bit of a leaderboard.
And you don't want to forget about Casual Arms.
Oh, of course not. Casual Arms is very fun. We have actually a test punch going on this weekend.
Yes. If I'm not mistaken, it's going to be going on starting at the 31st. And it'll be going on for about 3 days.
Oh, so this is a Street Fighter 4 player, I'm being told. And he plays Bison. So I don't know who's going to main in ARMS.
Oh, look how intimidating he is.
I'm terrified.
If he plays M. Bison, I'm just going to take a wild guess and say he's going to play a very intimidating character in this game, and we might be seeing ourselves a Max Brass.
Oh, we will see if that guess pans out.
Chances are, most players who are stepping into the game, they tend to go with what is known as defaults, and defaults is what the character is built in with. Customs is what you saw in the first sets where both the players had different loadouts from what they normally have. So an explanation on what's going on there is that most of all the characters in the game have access to every single arm. They all start with about 3. Quick example, Master Mummy would have a few arms known as the Megaton, the Phoenix, and the Retorture. But we saw Dendy did not have any of those.
Yeah, no. Dendy rocks a custom set with T-Bird, Roaster, and Scorpio.
So we might... Max Brass is also well known... Max Brass is well known for sticking with his default loadout as well. So it would work pretty well for this fighter to stick in with that.
Yeah. So I'm wondering which character Double D is going to be rocking, because he has a variety of characters. He hasn't quite settled on one character yet.
I haven't seen too much of what Double D does. He is a fantastic person. I absolutely love him, but I haven't really seen too much of how he plays, what characters he likes, so I look forward to seeing how this goes on.
I know he likes Max Brass, like we were just saying. We might be seeing a couple Max Brasses if that pans out. If not, I've seen him play Lola, Twintel, wide variety of characters. So I look forward to seeing who he's going to pick.
It's going to be pretty fun. The general arms rule set allows for players to be able to swap around their arms pretty freely. If the winner is changing their loadout, they have to let their opponent know beforehand so that their opponent can plan out ahead, like changing a character in Smash Brothers and so on and so forth. But yeah, it's full custom. So you're able to switch your character. You're able to switch the arms you have on those characters. It's so much freedom and there's so many options. It can be a little overwhelming for a lot of people, but the ARMS is set up in a way that it slowly introduces you to all that variety and allows you to get used to what you might be coming across, how you're going to counter that.
Yeah, so there are a lot of details that need to be worked out in tournament rule sets, but the one that we've come upon at this point in the community seems to be working pretty well.
People seem to be happy. I have a lot of fun with it. I have a lot of fun just dabbling with like thousands of different loadouts as Mechanica.
Yeah, and just about every loadout has a pretty solid counter to be found. So no one loadout on any one character feels too broken at this moment. So I mean, even something like Buff Helix that has taken over the meta is something that a lot of people have been able to find a like strict counter to.
Yes, and in a lot of those cases, like they're oftentimes not the same arms for different people. There's some that'll go with double chakram. I had success running around with a Blorb, which is a big bouncy gooey ball. You can use a Slapamander, which gives people some nice slaps.
Gotta love the slaps.
Those hot slaps. So it looks like they're just finishing setting up. We should be able to get going right away.
So they're going to be hopping into this match here.
I don't really know either of the characters, as I said before, so it's going to be hard to say who wins. Double D does have a little bit more experience, and we're going to see no Max Brasses at all. We've got a Ribbon Girl and a Twintel. So tell me a little bit about Twintel. How does she work?
Twintel is one of my mains. Twintel has a slowdown effect on her dash. If you hold down dash, any arms or grabs coming at you will be slowed down. This gives you a little extra leeway in terms of being able to react to the options coming at you. There is a bit of startup and end lag on it, so you can be stuck in a situation where even though arms are slowed down, you will get hit for it. But she does slow down the match quite a bit, quite literally.
And Ribbon Girl's also a character that's, once again, we've got two very reactionary characters. It looks like Happy Medicine is going with Ribbon Girl, who is a very swift character in the air. She gets multiple jumps. Think Kirby and Smash Brothers. She can dash multiple times, and she can use that to kind of just make herself a really hard target.
Right.
And then with her ability to jump, she also has a quick draw, which allows her to dodge more arms. And you'll also notice when she does that, she charges her arms. So tell me a little bit about what's going on with those charged arms, because they're very different from what you would normally see from a standard arm.
Charged arms, every arm has a status effect that it gets when you charge up. You can charge up in any number of ways. Landing from a jump, like you saw the Ribbon Girl do there. Holding dash. What are the other ways? You can
shield.
Yeah, holding shield, and I think that's it.
That should be it. There's certain specific rules for certain characters who have what I generally call Enrage, like Springman and Max Brass.
There are perma-charged arms. So every arm has a status effect, and it only gets that status effect when it hits when it's charged. So the Ribbon Girl is currently rocking an electric arm and a blinding arm. The electric arm will put the Twintel into a stun combo possibility, and blind will literally blind the screen. So there'll be a little mark on the screen that'll prevent you from seeing the other character.
It just makes it a lot harder. That blooper ink is always confusing everybody.
Yes, it is.
And we've got Double D going with two different arms, the Funchuck and the Chakram. You can probably guess which one is which here. Both have the stun element. Now, most of the elemented arms, you can generally tell what they're going to do by how the arm acts when it's charged. Like, you can see the Sparky, which is the glove on Happy Medicine's left. It is fully electrocuted. It is ready to shock. Stun is a little harder to see, but basically what Double D's arms do is they are a much lighter version of that electric stun from that glove, where that electric glove will disable the opponent's arms and make them vulnerable. The stun just is an extended knockback that you can grab into, you can hit them again with something else, or you can just wait it out and bait out an attack.
So Double D's taking that second round, so that's 1-1 in rounds.
Both players doing really well here. We've got some really nice movements. Happy Medicine really clearly has a lot more understanding of how Ribbon Girl works, how ARMS works in general than I might have expected from a player. You can't judge somebody just by the fact that they're new to you, though.
Yeah, this is someone who's been in the FGC for a while. And Bison main.
He's definitely proving me that he knows what he's doing even in this game. Double D also doing a really good job, though.
What a grab.
It was a really well timed, and it was an excellent read. Gave Double D a really nice advantage here. These two characters are generally not too good. Both of these characters do really like controlling the field, but both are so mobile and hard to hit that they're neither really too worried about the stage here because they're just both everywhere.
Right. They can both kind of hang in the air, wait for the other person to commit to an option and just kind of react and get out of the way.
And this is going to be what I generally call a shield breaker. Basically,
and that takes the game.
You'll notice that there's a little triangle at the bottom corner of the screen, and when that fills up, that allows them to do their ultimate, which in the ARMS community is known as Rush. That essentially allows them to do just a flurry of attacks. As you saw with the Funchuck and the Chakram, it's just hundreds of them. And certain arms, like the Funchuck and Chakram, have what we call shield breaker potential, and that's just, it launches so many attacks and does so much damage on the shield that it eventually just breaks through.
Yeah, and typically that's if you're cornered or against a wall. That will be the situation in which those shield break rushes will get that guaranteed rush.
Indeed, and that can be a really pivotal strategy and move, especially like exactly how we saw. Backed into a corner, low on health, all that was needed was a shield break, and that was just going to do like even 5 damage would knock them out.
So it's looking like Happy Medicine is going to be bringing Double D to a DNA Lab, which is a more defensive stage than Buster Beach.
This is the first time we're going to see it, at least in this tournament. Buster Beach is generally a little more mixed, more offensive overall. We've seen a healthy mix of that now, at least twice, and now we're going to see something that's a lot more defensive. This has a lot of pillars, so in a lot of fighting games you might not see too many pillars. This one has these destructible pillars. You'll see them. They're filled with a creature that's generally known as Helix, and they're going to be trying to beat each other up, and they will probably destroy some of these harmless little Helix Tube men in the process.
So it's looking like Happy Medicine switched out his Biffler for a Hydra. Now, why do you think that is?
The Biffler is a really good arm, but it lacks something that the Hydra generally does, which is just a quick, reliable knockdown.
Yeah.
And
it has a little bit more damage, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
They're about the same. The Biffler is a little bit faster. They do a bit of the same damage. I think Hydra does about 10 more damage, so you definitely be right on that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's definitely a really good arm. Generally, something that I personally feel is one of the best arms in the game. It did sustain a nerf right around the early stages, but with how it's designed and how it works, you'll see it's still a very dangerous and very powerful arm.
So it's looking like Happy Medicine is really playing the patient game here. Not committing too hard to anything. Really making Double D do all the heavy lifting here. And it's working out for him.
He's baiting out a lot of aggressive moves, just getting Double D to really fall for these traps. D-swapped that Chakram for a Thunderbird, which that thing is a little bit slower, it's a little harder to aim, and it's probably meant to go around the tubes, but it's definitely giving Happy Medicine a lot more opportunity to safely stay out of harm's way.
Right.
And we're going to see the time run out for the first time, and Happy Medicine is probably just content with letting that happen. It's better to stay safe and not risk losing health and just keep that win.
And he starts the next round with a rush, which gives him quite a bit of momentum.
And we're going to see Double D go back to the Chakram. The stage is a little bit more open. Some of the tubes are down. Some Helix have been fallen. We will remember those fallen heroes.
So yeah, on this stage, Ribbon Girl is just insanely hard to hit. And it seems that Happy Medicine knows that that's the case.
Definitely using you notice that there's the stairs that lead to a higher area, and he's just using that to kind of stay in a really high advantage point. And it just makes him so much more of an obstacle.
Oh, so he's unleashing that rush raw and actually landing.
So in that position, there is a bit of landing lag when a character lands. Even Ribbon Girl, who has that quick drop, she still has a little bit of lag that slows her down and makes her a little bit vulnerable to a setup like a very aggressive rush right there. And that's how Double D was going to be rewarded. Happy Medicine gets their rush off as well, getting some substantial damage.
This is looking like a pretty even game so far.
That Chakram definitely helping out a lot more here. Just having that larger body allows Double D to more effectively aim and land attacks against Ribbon Girl.
Definitely.
And just having that flurry during rush allows Double D to also land those a little more efficiently.
Double D's coming up on a rush right now. We'll see if he can take this second round by using that rush. I think that would be the smart option right here.
He goes for it. Unfortunately, Happy Medicine did see it coming, went for the shield breaker, lands the rush at the last moment, and is able to snipe Double D down.
Clutches it out. So that's going to be 1-1. Nice even set we've got going for us now. We'll see where Double D takes him.
Double D definitely at the advantage now, because Happy Medicine had to use his stage pick to get 2-1-1, and now Double D gets to pick somewhere, and they've decided to go straight to DNA Lab?
It looks like we're having a... Oh. Okay. It looks like we're going to DNA Lab.
They want to go to DNA Lab again.
All right.
So,
So we're having a bit of a stage hiccup right now.
They both got a little excited, dive straight in. We're going to have a wonderful perfect as Twintel has a heart attack due to the pressure of just... This tournament is just too much for Twintel, and she just has a heart attack, falls down. She's gone for a little bit. She'll be back in a few minutes. Those heart attacks don't do too much to champions like this.
So we're going to be seeing which stage we're going to.
And you'll notice that we have a wide variety of stages here. there has been a lot of discussion in the community, and we've toned it down to about 5 to 7 stages.
There are 5 stages as starters in this rule set that we have going right now.
And then we've got 2 counter stages to follow that up. Most of the stages that you'll generally see, the Mausoleum, Buster Beach, as you've seen numerous times. We just saw DNA Lab, Viadoche, Temple Grounds, Sparring Ring, and it looks like that we're going back to Buster Beach.
I think this is a good choice by Double D.
It worked well for him the first time. There's no reason for him to hide away from it this time.
Yeah. No pillars to deal with.
A nice tight-knit area, lots of corners for him to get Happy Medicine into.
Get those stun combos.
And he's going double Fun Chuck. Now, Fun Chuck is a very interesting arm in that it has the ability to You'll notice that when an arm reaches out towards its opponent, it has a bit of stall time before it comes back. You'll see that with Fun Chuck. You see them land, or they miss, and it takes a few moments after that for it to come back. When it's close to the user and they deflect an arm, the Fun Chuck will actually recover immediately and they can use it again.
Right. Yeah, arms with good retraction are amazing for boxing in this game, which is very important. Boxing is like uncharged arm 1-2s over and over again and kind of trying to win the interaction.
Yeah, generally just trading punches until one's punches are a little bit faster or they get a better tempo.
Unleashing that rush raw, and he ends up landing it because Ribbon got a little air happy.
He was able to get a nice angle, successfully reads that grab, evades, and is able to start closing the gap between the 2 health pools. Might need to start trying to focus on charging up another rush to catch Happy Medicine before this set ends, or if he can find just one opportunity to get a nice hit in before Happy Medicine gets a hit of his own, he might be able to keep this in. And we see he's trying to get that angle. He's trying to find something to go with. Backs up a little bit. He might think he has an equal health pool, but he doesn't. He's just a little bit behind, and we're going to see Happy Medicine win with a fraction of health.
Going for that timeout.
So that was definitely a misread on Double D's part.
He may have just thought he had a little more health than Happy Medicine. Sometimes it ends up happening.
It's hard to tell sometimes, just with how the screen is set up and how you can usually see that stuff. That said, the entire duration of that last set gave Double D the opportunity to charge up rush. Gonna go with a shield breaker again. Doesn't get as much damage as a full land, but there's still a lot of damage in there.
Right. So they're both playing pretty passive, not committing to arms very much, but I think that's ending up going a little bit more in Happy Medicine's favor than in Double D's.
Ribbon Girl definitely excels in a more passive stance, in a more defensive moment, just because she can do so much and she can become such a hard target. And you're seeing that as Double D tries to get those hits, in order for him to really start bringing this back and take this final set, he's going to need to start recognizing what Happy Medicine is trying to do and catch those jumps and see about when Happy Medicine might be thinking about landing. Because otherwise, he's going to be caught and he's going to get countered like he just did.
Yeah, that was a nice counter rush on Happy Medicine's part.
And we've got about 30 seconds left. With how these usually have been going, there's enough of a health lead on Happy Medicine that I can definitely see that this is probably about to close out. Double D is going to probably desperately try to close it up, or bring himself back. Is not able to. Happy Medicine's going to catch those.
2-1, Happy Medicine.
And it's going to be Happy Medicine moving on to the winners, with Double D moving into the losers bracket, and they will have to continue onwards.
So we are going to be playing Bustah versus Kholdstare next.
Now these are 2 absolutely fabulous people. 2
Yeah.
wonderful players.
Oh, one is from Texas, that's Kholdstare, and the other is from Vegas, Bustah. What's the matchup we're going to be seeing here?
It could depend on a lot of things. I know for sure that Kholdstare is very much a default Kid Cobra player, and that's going to be really exciting to see. He is an incredibly powerful Kid Cobra. He uses the defaults really well, and he's able to just move in a way that makes himself an incredibly difficult target.
Yeah.
But
And Bustah has quite a few characters, right? I think I've seen him go Springtron, Springman,
Coil?
Ribbon Girl,
Ribbon Girl.
Lollipop. So we could be seeing any number of characters, depending on who Bustah's going to want to fight against Kid Cobra with.
Indeed. His tried and true generally is Springtron. He's a lot more responsive with him. He knows how Springtron works really well. We'll give a brief explanation on how these characters work as the match starts, of course.
So you can watch how they work in action.
A light note for people who, as we watch, Springman and Springtron are actually going to be very similar. So if we do see the two of them here, they're going to play very similarly, except for a small difference.
Springman has a permacharge effect that goes into effect when he is at 25% health. So it's a big comeback factor. And Springtron has an EMP effect where he can instill his own permacharge arms by doing this massive explosion. We're going to be going to Temple Grounds here.
And that massive explosion when his opponent is attacking, let's say Kholdstare throws a grab at him. That EMP is going to knock both of those arms out, and that's going to disable Kholdstare and leave him in a place where Bustah will be able to punish him.
Yes. But the EMP is very punishable in its own right. So if you throw it out and the other player expects you to, then you're going to get punished for it.
So we haven't really talked about what goes on when their arms are knocked down. Like, we've seen a little bit with the stuns from the Sparky. We've seen the shield break, and you'll notice those little triangles going up. And we'll definitely see it if Bustah is successful in performing an EMP. What does that generally entail? What is that?
So when you break an arm, you do arm damage whenever you chip an arm. When you break an arm, you are unable to move around to the best of your ability. You lose your ability to charge, and you only have the arm that hasn't been hit down active. So it takes away a lot of your defensive and evasive options. So we're doing Springman versus Kid Cobra. This is not what I expected to see.
It was an option, and it's definitely the one Bustah is going to be going with. I believe the reason why he would choose Springman over Springtron, maybe not due to the stage here, which is definitely more defensive and generally would benefit Springtron, but Bustah probably feels like that he's going to be pressured very heavily by Kholdstare, and he's not going to have the room to efficiently EMP.
Right.
As it takes a very long charge time to have that successfully land. So he's going to stick with the enrage that Springman has at 25% health to give himself permacharge that way and try to use that to help him survive this match.
So Bustah is rocking the Roasters right now, which are both very fast arms that have very good aim. They don't have a lot of homing on them, so you have pretty much full control over where they go. And Kholdstare is rocking the Coolerang Hydra combination. Coolerang is a nice curving arm that instills the ice effect, and Hydra is a multi-shot arm that has fire.
And the ice element is actually really powerful in this game. One of the things that it does essentially is it freezes the opponent, prevents them from having charge, prevents them from moving, and their attacks are greatly slowed. Gives you a lot of time to see what they might be trying to do. You might be able to get a nice grab. Kholdstare going to use his rush, just barely misses it, finishing him off. So he's going to just try to evade. Gets caught by Bustah's rush, and Bustah's going to take the first round of the set.
What a rush to end that first round.
And that was just an intense moment there. You could see Kholdstare was trying to do everything possible to stay out of the way, and he just could not.
So Bustah switching out one of his Roasters for a Chakram. That'll lead to some stun combos, like stun into grab and stun into punch. It gives him a lot of variety, and it allows him to cover that Coolerang a little bit better than he was with the double gloves. Cobra just has giant arms, comparatively. There's attributes called arm girth in this game that makes it so your arms are bigger or not.
And some characters, such as one that we might see known as Min Min, has the ability to change the size of her arm girth we might see some of that going on, but for the most characters have pretty set arm girth sizes. One of the big things that you are able to do while frozen is you are able to pop rush, and you'll see you see that little circle, that blue circle that pops around Springman. That is generally known as a deflect, and basically that acts as a temporary shield that would knock down any arms that attempt to make contact with Springman in that time.
So Bustah and Cold exchanging some rushes here. Looking relatively even, but Cold's on his final hit. So Bustah's looking like he could be taking this first match, unless Kholdstare has something to say about it.
Kholdstare being very patient, just trying to find that little bit of room to get in there, get a nice hit. Gets caught by one more roaster though. An important note too, when you pop rush, you'll notice that sometimes they'll throw it out their rush when an attack is actually just about to land. That's because rush has a small effect, very similar to Springman's deflect, that allows them to protect themselves from an attack for a moment and gives them a really good opportunity to counter.
We're going to be seeing where we're going next. Now, that match looked pretty even, and it didn't seem like there were any stage shenanigans that really prevented either character from making any leeway.
Yeah, neither of them really used anything that could take too much advantage of the stage. Both of them moved in generally standard methods. I would definitely say that Kholdstare wants to continue looking for those open stages where he has room to move. It looks like we're going to be going in with Buster Beach, though.
Buster Beach is looking like a pretty popular stage this tournament.
It's generally been a well-favored one by the community. It's, as I said before, it has a lot going on in it, and it's well-designed for players of all shapes and sizes, all breeds. Everybody can have fun in Buster Beach.
Now, I think that this choice is interesting for Kholdstare because it does have that little lip in the middle of Buster Beach and that I know a lot of Cobra mains don't really love.
Yeah, it definitely has a chance to prevent a lot of his movements. That said, he is one of the stronger Kid Cobras out there, and I'm sure if he chose this stage, he knows what he's getting himself into, he knows what he needs to do, and he's going to try to take advantage of that. Maybe he just force Bustah into the hot bucket like he currently had. Bustah going with a roaster toaster loadout here. And roaster and toaster are two very similar arms.
Both fire, both gloves.
The key difference being the toaster is a little bit slower and it has more homing in it. It also does just a little bit less damage, going for that 130.
So it's possible that Bustah's going to be throwing out the toaster more to pressure the space that the character's generally in, and then the roaster to be a little more specific about his aim.
Indeed. Another thing that hasn't been really brought up before, but it's a small detail for a lot of people, and it really helps out any fire users, is that firearms have instant knockback, which just quickly knocks their opponent down. Doesn't matter what state they're in, if they're a Master Mummy with heavy armor or if they're just a light character. And it also actually weakens their rush. If they're a full-on rush, you're not going to see it do anything. But if you keep a close eye on, say, Cold Cobra has a little bit of charge there, and if Bustah was able to land a hit or two, you'll notice that that triangle might actually shrink just by a few frames. And it can, applying pressure well with that, we actually see a little bit there.
Yeah.
If you apply pressure well enough, you can just straight up prevent your opponent from ever having rush.
Yeah.
Where generally other arms, even if you're pounding your opponent into the dust, eventually they'll generally get rush and they'll be able to use it to try to bring themselves back.
So it's looking like Kholdstare is about to build a rush for himself. Pretty close round so far.
Definitely this stage is working out a lot better for him than Temple Grounds was.
Yeah, it seems like it.
He's also switched over to the Slamamander, which is a wind-based, kind of curvy, kind of straightforward arm. It does a lot of things. You see it does some really funny slappy things, and generally a really dangerous arm.
All right, so Kholdstare is closing out that second game. It's 1-1. Now it's looking like Bustah's really trying to get in and prevent Cobra from really moving a muscle. Now, this might factor into the counter picks. I assume he's probably going to want to bring him to one of the smaller stages.
I'd probably say Via Dolce is going to be a really nice choice here. Some other options would be Sparring Ring's definitely going to be a little good. That said, we haven't seen Sparring Ring at all here, surprisingly.
We're going to come in with a surprise. This is a stage I know that Bustah loves, Mausoleum.
The Mausoleum, home of the Master Mummy.
Yes, it is. Although Master Mummy mains don't really particularly care for Mausoleum.
Nah, it's a little too open. It's just there's not much for a Master Mummy to do there. They can't do half the work that they generally really like. This stage can work pretty well for Bustah as he can quickly close that gap. But if that center stadium, you'll notice that it's actually cracked. If an opponent gets knocked down on that center piece, that's actually going to cause it to weaken and eventually collapse into a spring little platform.
A trampoline.
A trampoline, yes. And that's going to allow for a lot more aerial movement from any character. It used to be most of the players actually generally avoided it because it takes a little bit more understanding of how the mechanics of ARMS works. But a lot of players have grown to accept it and embrace it. And you get to see, I really hope we can see it get knocked down because it's absolutely delightful seeing people just bouncing off those springs.
There are some excellent shenanigans that go on in there.
Indeed.
And with a character as airborne as Cobra is, should be interesting to see if he makes any use of it.
And we see Springman is knocked down, and you notice that the stage actually crumbled a little bit. One more drop like that on the center stadium, and that is going to open up that trampoline. That's it. Cold sticking to the middle, trying to bait out a knockdown on himself, and allowing that opportunity to give him a lot of chance to apply some really strong pressure and get some good damage. And if that breaks, definitely going to be advantageous for Cold as he gets a nice grab. And he breaks the trampoline with the finishing grab. So we're going to start the second round of this. And Kholdstare's going to have an advantage right from the get-go. There is now a giant trampoline in the middle. Lots of characters make themselves very vulnerable there. If used well, you can effectively evade a lot of attacks and get some good damage in, but it also makes a lot of your attacks and approaches a lot more awkward, and we saw Kholdstare was able to effortlessly just keep himself nice and safe from there. And this trampoline putting Kholdstare in a really powerful position where he's just applying so much pressure. He's got so much damage going on, and we get a rush, and that is it.
Wow. What a game from Kholdstare. Definitive.
Absolutely amazing. That trampoline just straight up turned it. That grab right into there. Beautiful.
So we're going to be moving into a set from Geordi and Kookiez.
And we've got a game coming out, Fantasy Strike, that is going to be available now on Steam Early Access.
They're showing it off here at the venue. It looks pretty cool. Got some interesting art styles going on. And it looked like the fighting was pretty versatile.
Indeed. Yeah. It looks like it'll be a pretty good time. And we've also got 10% off site-wide with the code NorCalBest
at www.8arc.com. Valid through April 8th. NCR has been a lovely event so far. They have Arcade Shock and Split Frame. You can save 15% store-wide on FGC parts and split frame gear.
Use code NCR2018. And we're going to have our opponents coming up, and it is going to be Geordi versus Kookiez. Kookiez, absolute wonderful friend of mine. She is a wonderful Mechanica player. She plays Pink Mechanica alongside me.
So it'll be interesting if you guys get in the bracket together.
Oh yes, it'll just be Pink Mechanicas everywhere.
A flurry of pink.
Yes. I personally enjoy the Pink Mechanica because it is a little bit of a nod to Diva from Overwatch. Even though I don't play the Overwatch at all, I just thought it was cute.
Yeah.
Also, obviously, the big one for me, Kirby Planet Robobot. It's a cute pink robot. Now I get to be in another pink robot, and now I get to
all
punch
the cute
things.
mechs.
Yes, all the punching. And Kookiez is definitely on the board with that, too. Going with the pink. Pink is the best Mechanica.
I think so, too.
Geordi, I don't necessarily know too much.
Yeah, neither do I. It should be interesting to see what character he's going to be pulling out.
It looks like we're going to be going to Mausoleum. I believe this is another person from the community beyond in fighting games.
Always
So
good to see new faces that come to offline tournaments for ARMS.
we try out we look at some of their games. I've definitely gotten a little bit into Tekken, and
Oh, we have a Twintel.
oh, it's a Twintel.
Rocking the green Twintel, which is my favorite color.
I absolutely love that color. And then we've got my favorite color of Mechanica, pink. We also have some really fun arms going on Kookie's side. This is going to be a nice introduction to the blast element. You'll notice that the arm gets charged up, and it looks like just an absolute blast. Basically, what it does is it gives the arm the ability to be 2 attacks. That Kerblammer hits with a standard landing, and then it has an explosion immediately afterwards.
So Geordi's rocking the double Sparkies.
And we already have a broken stadium at the Mausoleum here.
Wasting no time getting that broken.
Kookie's just having a blast, just blowing everything off. Just really going all out with the nuke button. Actually, this is a good moment to explain. We've got 3 different weights of arms here.
Yeah, so we have a heavy arm, a light arm, and a medium arm. Both of the Sparkies that Geordi is rocking are medium arms. So those are pretty much the standard arm that are probably the most popular arm type in the game. Heavy arms are a little bit slower, but can punch through medium arms. And the light arms tend to be multi-shot arms and get punched through by medium arms. So Kookie's taking that first round, looking pretty solid.
Indeed, using the Kerblammer well to apply a lot of pressure, catch Twintel in the air, using the Tri-Blast just to continue to apply a lot of pressure. As you said before, look at all those tiny shots. Tri-Blast actually has 2 different properties to it. When it's charged, you'll notice it acts as a single entity. When uncharged, though, it's just going to be it's going to be 3 individual boats. And if you try to stop one, it's not going to stop the other 2. Kookie's going to successfully win that trade. And once again, Kookie's having a really strong lead here. Just using that Kerblammer to efficiently wall out all of these attacks that Geordi is trying to do. Geordi gets a successful
nice
stun. And Kookie's just going to respond with a huge slam with the Kerblammer.
Oh, what a grab. That was sneaky. Kookie's moved into it, moved backward into it. So that was a little bit of the hitbox shenanigans you can see in this game.
Oh, and we see a good example of the rushes deflect where Geordi was going in for that grab. Kookie's popped rush, and there's that little deflect aura, passes off that grab, says, that didn't happen. You're actually dead. And then Kookie just swung in and knocked Geordi down.
So Geordi's playing a pretty airborne Twintel right now, which against those explosive arms may not be the best decision, right?
The big problem for Geordi is not necessarily going to be the explosions in general, but that Kerblammer. There's 2 different kinds of the Kerblammer, the Whammer and the Kerblammer. Both are just big swinging hammers. You see how they move. They go out, they raise up, and they swat you down like a fly. So if you're an airborne character who can't move out of the way quickly, they are going to catch you, and they are going to do some serious damage.
So we're running it back to Mausoleum, which I think is a good choice. Both of these characters do pretty well on Mausoleum. They're both pretty zony characters. So getting that trampoline in the middle doesn't really necessarily favor Twintel or Mechanica.
With how the players or characters are being played, though, I definitely think that this is going to be disadvantageous for Geordi. It's going to be a very comfortable stage because it's very simple and very straightforward. But Kookiez is really just getting that Kerblammer to work for her, getting those shots to go swing straight in.
I can definitely see that. So it's looking like Geordi almost hit her out of rush there. If his arms were charged, I think it would have caught him out of that. Caught her out of that rush. But it didn't end up working out for him. But he's sitting on his own rush now.
And he stalled her enough that he was able to protect himself. He's going to probably try to find a moment to dive in with that rush. Kookiez will probably want to try to stay out of the way. That Kerblammer has a really slow ending lay, And as Geordi was safe away from it, popped Rush and was able just to reach in and get some good damage. That's it. Kookiez already has Rush ready again. We haven't really discussed how Mechanica works, and we're already almost done. We might be potentially almost done with her already. So let's go over a couple of quick things. Most characters generally dash side to side. You see that with Twintel. Mechanica actually has an extended dash where she just kind of drifts around the place.
So that's why you see her slip sliding everywhere. And that allows Mech to keep her arms charged pretty safely. Because she does have a pretty big body when it comes to the characters here. She's a heavy character, so she is a bigger target, but she's able to move enough that she's able to kind of mitigate that weakness sometimes.
And we'll also see with characters like Mechanica, we saw a little bit with Master Mummy, they have what's known as armor, and basically as long as they are performing an action, that is going to prevent them from being stunned by a light attack. Kookie's going to get a perfect to finish this off, and that is a swift, deadly 2-0.
Closing out the set. It's looking like I'm going to be hopping on to the next game. Hopefully someone will be coming up here to join you on this commentary.
Oh yes, I will have another lovely, wonderful friend here. Thank you for joining us.
Yes. Thank you for watching. It's been a lovely time here at NCR. We're happy to be here. We got quite a few ARMS players from several different countries. You came in from Canada.
Hi.
Speaking Japanese.
I'm sorry, Evo and Takage messed me up.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you'll be back in a little bit because I'm sure I'm going to have a matchup coming up pretty soon too.
All right, so we have a lovely guest commentator coming up, so I will let you introduce him.
Sounds good.
All right.
And I will introduce him. His name is Pops. Not somebody I've necessarily known too much myself, but he is a member of the Carolina area. He is a pretty good big part of the community there and does a lot of interactions. Hello there, beautiful.
What's up, everybody?
He also has a lovely Min Min hat.
First time wearing it. Very happy. Very happy to be here.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm Pops. I'm from SoCal. I play at the Wednesday night fights. So if you're in SoCal, there's a local there. It's a monthly. Check us out.
And it looks like, so we're going to have HESS versus TCM Reposed. And what do you think about these two players?
Well, actually, they're both frequenters of the Wednesday night fights local tournament that I go to. HESS is actually undefeated in that tournament. He's, I think, probably won about like 6 or 7 tournaments by now. So it's pretty heavy in HESS's favor. But Repose is still fairly new there, so he might, you never know, he might bust something out.
He also looks like a pretty strong player from what I've seen. Who does he generally main? It looks like
He mains Kid Cobra.
He's got a Kid Cobra badge, so yeah, definitely Kid
Yeah.
Cobra.
HESS is probably going to play Master Mummy.
He doesn't really have much of a choice now, does he?
Yeah. He's definitely going to try it out, see how far he can go with Master Mummy.
Long story short, the community was able to convince him to only play Master Mummy because he asked if he got 100 reacts specifically on a Discord, he would have to play Master Mummy for the entire thing. And guess what? He got over 100.
Yeah, as he probably should have expected. But I mean, his Master Mummy's really good. It's not a joke character, so it was his original main. A lot of people consider Master Mummy the lower tier, but he makes it work. So I don't count him out for sure.
It was a master strategy of his. He wanted to play Master Mummy the entire session.
Yeah, I know. He's trying to make everybody underestimate him, but he just won the last Wednesday night fight tournament just playing Master Mummy. He 3-0'd me, so I can't talk about how good his Master Mummy is.
Yeah, it's definitely really good. I was playing with him a little bit earlier, and we were doing a lot of just trading matches. I was experimenting, but he definitely held his own really well. He's got some really good strategies and setups with Master Mummy. I can definitely see him making it pretty far in this, if not taking it, unless I step in and finish him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited to see all of these matches. HESS, he's on the West Coast. There's a lot of ARMS on the East Coast. So this is one of the first tournaments that HESS has been to with a lot of players from around the U.S. So I'm kind of curious to see how he'll do because he's the best player in SoCal right now. So I'm rooting for him. I'm hoping he can take it with these other players from around the U.S.
I'm rooting for him because I want to take him down.
Yeah, well, that'll be a good match. If Master Mummy versus Mechanica is the grand finals, I'll be so happy.
It would be so much fun.
Yes, I think everybody would love it.
And it looks like we are going to be sparring in the ever lovely sparring ring. And this is going to be the first time we're seeing this stage here. Surprisingly, as most of the community generally sees Beyond Buster Beach and Mausoleum, this is a go-to for a lot of people. It's generally a very aggressive stage. It's very small. It's just, think of your standard boxing ring. That's what we got going on here. It's a little more flashy just because it looks nice. It's arms themed. Look how beautiful it looks.
I feel like it's a fairly neutral stage. It's really flat, so there's no like height differences. And I know HESS, we like to start here just because the neutral start. So I know he's comfortable playing here. Oh, okay,
Reposed going with double rams.
Yeah, I mean, if that can get around the megawatt, so the megaton.
So as we discussed earlier, Master Mummy and Mechanica have this thing called armor. And basically that prevents them from getting stunned or slowed down by a lot of attacks while they're moving around, dashing, jumping, striking themselves.
They can be knocked down like that if the arm is charged. So it's really important against heavy characters like this to have charged arms because a single hit will knock them down.
Indeed.
If not, they'll just take the hit and keep swinging.
Fire Element is definitely a common go-to if you're coming across a heavier character, as it just allows you to get those knockdowns that you might not normally get. And Repo's going to start
takes first round
with a powerful first round.
See, I mean, you can never count anybody out in this. This bracket is pretty stacked. HESS might be the favorite, but I definitely wouldn't count out Repose.
Definitely using those rams efficiently to get around that Megaton. That Phoenix a little slow compared to those rams, maybe not reaching out as quickly.
Yeah, HESS is known for his patient play as well, so he's good at counters. So he'll block both of your punches and give a quick counter with the bird, which is one of the faster arms.
Right.
He's not really using the Megaton right now, which I'm kind of surprised.
He's probably not feeling like it's going to work too well in these scenarios, as those double rams are just going to be a little too hard of a target. Doesn't even use it for that rush though. maybe he's just showboating here.
Yeah.
He is the kind of player that would have fun with that.
Yeah, he loves the style, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's choosing style over strategy.
He just wants to see if he can do it, and Repose is like, nah, man.
He's really big on intimidating people, but right now, I don't know. It seems like he might be the one intimidated.
He's just having a giggle here, mate. And Repose is going to get a nice rush, going to take him down.
Good game by Repose.
He might have just felt like no matter, he was only going to reliably use one arm well. So he just stuck with the Phoenix, and it didn't matter really what was on the other side because if you throw out the other arm, it can make you really vulnerable if you have them both down. So he might have just felt like, let's just pretend that doesn't exist. I'm going to make myself too vulnerable here.
Yeah, and with Kid Cobra, if you throw out that heavy arm and he jumps us across, you're kind of a sitting duck. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if he gets a Chilla. Maybe even goes double Chilla. Chilla's HESS's favorite arm, I'm pretty sure. So
it recovers really quickly, and it will definitely outbox the Ram.
Yeah.
And as we said earlier, or me and HESS said earlier, there is a lot of boxing that goes on these, especially when it comes to trying to counter a Ram. If you can just punch them down really quickly, you're definitely going to put yourself in more of an advantage state. So they're just going to discuss which stage they want to go to, and we'll be heading to there promptly. I'm guessing HESS will probably want a closer stage.
I'm not too familiar with what HESS, what did they pick?
Sparring ring.
Sparring ring?
Again.
Me and HESS have gone the full sets to sparring ring in the past, so I don't know. Maybe he's just comfortable there in bracket.
It's a nice place. It works well for a lot of people. It's got some jazzy tunes.
Yep, I can see that. Yeah, I think, and like, if he does go with like double chill or something like that, I think that's where you'll see maybe the super armor come more into play. If Repose doesn't keep his arms charged, he won't get the knockdown, and HESS will just keep punching straight through him, and then he'll be in the advantage state.
Actually, we haven't really talked too much about Kid Cobra and how he moves around.
No Chilla.
He's a really technical character. Looks like HESS is going to stick with the Megaton and Phoenix. Maybe use it a little more defensively. Maybe he's got an idea on what he wants to do here.
Nice grab.
I'm going to start off with a very nice grab. You also notice that it did 205 damage instead of the standard 200 that you've seen of Master Mummy before. That is because heavy arms also give an additional 5 damage to your grab.
Yeah, and Master Mummy with the strongest grab, I believe, which is normally 200.
And we're seeing him start using that Megaton.
Yeah.
And it is catching Reposed hard.
HESS is really good at confirming the grab with a uncharged Megaton hit, like he just did right there.
He did some nice conditioning, getting Reposed to kind of relax and be like, oh, hey, he's just going to use Phoenix. I don't need to worry about stuff. And then out comes a giant Megaton to the face.
Yeah, look at the difference of the... Reposed just took both rounds of last game, and now HESS with a really strong start. Maybe he's found his footing.
Megaton is also one of the few arms that does not have an element. You'll just notice that instead, it gets bigger. It's a powerful arm, it does lots of damage.
Look how big it got there.
And it did a solid 365. He just walks up, I'm just gonna rush you, I'm gonna throw you, half arrow health gone.
Sometimes it feels impossible to avoid that rush. That Megaton is giant.
And it's just, look at this lead now. He's just like, okay, we've had our fun, it's time to start going.
I think HESS is definitely feeling a little bit more. When he's walking on people is definitely when he's a little bit more comfortable too, and you see him walking right there.
Walking is actually something that a lot of players don't do too much, but it's slowly coming into it just because it makes you a bit of a harder target. It lets you set things up if you know what you're doing with your walking. And I completely forgot that we were going to talk about Kid Cobra and how he works.
Oh, yeah.
So, Kid Cobra is a really complicated character compared to most of the ones that you'll see. His movement is really jumpy and kind of sudden. He basically has to get charged, and that allows him to efficiently allows him to dash around and evade attacks and just move at really high speeds when he has charge. If he doesn't have charge, he can move pretty efficiently by some nice large jumps. But otherwise, he kind of walks really slowly.
Yeah.
He's kind of sitting in a duck if he holds shield. So a lot of the times he's trying to find that opportunity to get in there.
And he's got some interesting,
charge.
some other little attributes. If he slides forward while charged, I think he evades all the arms coming at him. Is that
He
right?
doesn't evade all of them. He just becomes a little line on the floor.
So
if
maybe wider arms.
If you have a Megaton, especially on Master Mummy, that thing is big. It's gonna still just kind of boop right into his face and knock him down. Just a beautiful little boop for 140.
Yeah.
And we see that Reposed is also going with the Megaton here, trying to counter that out and then outbox with the Ram probably. Has safely dodging the Ram just by walking back. He's just like, I know what's going on. I know how to get out of this.
I just talked to Reposed before this, and I think this might be one of his favorite stages to play. So let's see if he can turn it around from last game.
There's no corners here. It's just a big, beautiful circle, except when that center trampoline opens up, which just allows for so many fun things.
Yeah, and Reposed is actually just telling me that he loves to just jump on the trampoline. So let's hope that the trampoline breaks, and we can see him hopping around.
He'll definitely have tons of fun with that. Woodles and woodles.
Yeah.
Tries to go for a grab.
If
It's going to be
Master Mummy gets a
countered.
grab, it'll break for sure.
And we're noticing that Reposed's arm is actually getting pretty weak. There's been a lot of arm damage going on in there.
Yeah, so even if you miss your punch, but it kind of grazes the other character, your opponent's arms, that'll do damage to their arm. And you can also break a shield, that also does damage, so. Sometimes it's good just to throw, and even if you whiff, it still does some good.
And we're going to see Repose go back to the double rammer. Here's that bouncy trampoline.
Nice grab. Let's see if Repose can get some confidence. He has rush.
Another thing we haven't really discussed, Master Mummy has a heal. He's the only character in the game that has this heal ability, and that happens when he holds his shield out.
Yeah, I believe he is absorbing souls as he is a mummy. He has some connection, I guess.
Yes, if I'm not mistaken, that is what is going on there. He's just he is nomming on those little tasty souls, and we see Hess used the sprint really well to evade that grab,
It's looking pretty close, but Hess has rush, so
and that's just going to be a brutal rush
Oh,
for
and so
420 with that little tip at the end,
oh,
and a snipe from the Phoenix in the air.
that was a good game.
And that's going to be Hess taking it 2-2-1.
Honestly, a bit closer of a game than I thought. That was pretty tight.
He definitely started to pick up a little bit on what he needed to do once he got into a more comfortable area such as Mausoleum. Unfortunately, Hef is just too clever. He knew what was going on. He's like, yeah, nah. And
well, Mausoleum's also Master Mummy's like home stage, so I don't know, maybe that gave him a little extra boost.
he got extra healing from the spirits of the
Yeah.
undead there. Extra juicy.
Yes, the juiciest.
And now we are going to be seeing the TaiwanNinja versus MessyRoom.
Okay.
So TaiwanNinja, also a pretty big member of the ARMS community, especially the locals in California. And
yeah, also a frequenter of the Wednesday Night Fights tournament. He plays a bunch of different characters, but he's probably going to play Dr. Coil. So, brand new character. If you guys have never watched ARMS, is going to be a new character to you. She has an interesting abilities. Do you want to talk about Dr. Coil's abilities?
she is just, she floats like a little butterfly, stings like a bee. That's a great
Well
way to
said.
explain it.
Yeah.
She is the one character that is permanently in the air. She has the ability to levitate, and that allows her to raise up or lower, so she can have that permanent height advantage that some of the characters normally might struggle with. And she's also a relatively fast character. She can get out of the way of a lot of attacks with that. When she shields, turns invisible. If you're paying attention to her shadow, though, you can see that where she is planning on going, and you can kind of catch that.
So, like you were saying, when she holds shield is when she kind of goes invisible, right?
And it lasts about 2 seconds?
Yeah, so if you ever see her just disappear off the stage, she's holding shield, and like Maleeb was saying, if you see the shadow on the floor, you might be able to track her movement.
Yes,
She's also got another interesting attribute where she can actually grow a third arm on either side randomly, but so then you got 3 arms coming at you rather than 2.
It's not randomly, my friend, and it's
Oh.
not growing. She's actually... So, a little bit of lore for the ARMS world. Most of these characters, Master Mummy, Max Brass, Springman, they have what is known as the ARMS gene. It's actually something that runs rampant amongst this world. And it's not it can be a bad thing, but basically what it does is it makes your arms all elastic and springy like you see most of them. All of them have to wear these specially designed masks in order to control these spring-like arms. Otherwise, they're kind of just wild and all over the place. Anyways,
Yeah, so this will, the other contender, I believe, came with Tuturoopa. I can't remember who she plays, but who knows? I mean, so far this bracket has been great in character diversity, so maybe we'll see another character we haven't seen yet.
she's got a Lola pop on her shirt.
Oh, it's Lola, yeah.
It's gonna be a Lola.
It's
I
gonna be
like
a
my
Lola.
Lolas.
First Lola we've seen so far?
And to finish up, so Dr. Coil doesn't have the ARMS gene, but she's a mad scientist, and she essentially found a way, stealing some of Mechanica's blueprints. Very mean of her. I'm very mad at her. Very cross. I will not be your student. She used that to create some manner of a mech suit for herself and to implement the ARMS gene into herself that way. And that's how she gets her her elastic arms. And that third arm that pops up, basically you'll notice that there's little slots on either side of her shoulder. And when she charges up for an extended period through a dash similar to what you see with Mechanica, a third arm will pop out. And basically it's going to be a duplicate of whichever side it's on. So if, say, she got a toaster on the left side and a chilla on the right, if the left side is what charges up, it's going to be 2 toasters.
You'll definitely see some 3 arms going. If I remember, TaiwanNinja likes roasters, so you might just see 3 roasters flying at you. It can be pretty intimidating, but I think he's a pretty good Dr. Coil. Somebody to watch out for in the future.
And it sounds like we're going to be starting off with the Mausoleum. Now this is going to work a little interestingly for Dr. Coil. Coil doesn't float in the air, so doesn't really have to worry about that spring in the middle. It can break, and she can just float wherever she wants. She doesn't care.
She can also shield whether she's at the high level or low level, which nobody else can shield while they're in the air.
And we're also going to see Lollipop, the lovable Lollipop. So Lollipop is a pretty fun character. She does a lot of really cool things, and she does them well. What are those abilities?
I'm not the most knowledgeable about Lollipop's abilities. She's got really interesting movement options, and she's got really interesting shield options. If you want to elaborate, feel free.
Okay, so basically Lollipop is a very, I keep saying defensive, but that's because a lot of characters in this game have really good defensive and reactionary abilities. This is actually a very defensive game. You'll see, they're both staying pretty far away. They're just trying to find those opportunities to get some snipes.
It's a lot of hidden moves.
Indeed. Lollipop can blow up like a balloon, and you'll notice that actually allows her to move around forwards or backwards when she's standing in the shield stance. And she can also get a really large dash left, right, up,
right
or
there.
back.
Right as you said it, she did a good side dash. She also got a really high jump, I think, if she charges. She jumps higher than almost any other character, I think.
She just flies right into the air.
Yeah.
If she dashes in the air, you'll also notice that she kind of bounces with her balloon state. And that can allow her to be a little bit of a hard target, make her pretty dangerous.
I really like what Taiwan's doing here. I mean, this is somewhat of a fairly common set with a Dragon Arm and a Light Arm. The Dragon Arm can be really good for zoning because it has such a large hitbox, so you have to kind of move away from it or just shield it or time it. But and then you can counter with the Light Arm, which are quicker.
I'm definitely going to say that with how this fight is going, especially with TheTaiwanNinja definitely has the more ranged arms, and it's going to give them a lot more opportunities to get more damage in. Going to over-counter MessyRoom's counter, and that's going to give himself a really solid lead here. About 50% more health. It's going to be really hard for Messy to bring this back.
Yeah.
Especially with those dragons just kind of sniping away at a safe distance. That popper really nice though. It's one of the many light arms, and it pops out like confetti, and it's got two little spinning bullets. When it's charged up, it's a much larger shotgun blast, and it's relatively really large. It can be pretty easy for opponents to stop it, but if they're not careful, it can really catch them off guard and just cause some insane chains.
I actually like that loadout against Dr. Coil. You have the glove, which could knock down the Dragon Arm, so long as he doesn't have two dragons coming at you. And then that popper has a much larger hitbox, and Coil can be pretty evasive, pretty sneaky. So it's nicer. It's a little easier to catch her after she's committed to some punches. So I think it could work, but I think MessyRoom's gonna have to just figure something out.
And this will definitely be a good place to do that. We are going back to the DNA lab. Lots of pillars, lots of space to kind of think things through.
Hydra's also a good option. Looks like MessyRoom might try out Hydra.
And that Hydra's going to help out with the verticality that TheTaiwanNinja definitely has.
Yeah, here comes the triple roasters.
And it's just going to be a flurry of punches.
Yeah.
Dr. Coil also has a beautiful grab. It just looks so cool.
Ooh, nice grab.
Messy gets a nice grab. You'll also notice that normally it takes about 3 or so hits
Nice.
for one of those pillars to break. If an opponent lands a successful grab and the thrown opponent gets thrown through one of those pillars in Temple Grounds, in DNA Lab, in Scrapyard, which we haven't seen yet, but we might see in the future, it just straight up destroys those pillars.
Yeah, and what's good about the Hydra and Popper, as I was saying, they have nice big hitboxes, but when they have to go through two arms of Coil, that's kind of rough. So I think MessyRoom's really got to find the moments where she can find openings and not just punch through the two gloves of Dr. Coil.
Yeah, she's gonna have to be the defensive character here. Coil is designed as a more aggressive character, and falling for her setups is just going to allow her to just toy with you. She wants to pressure you. She wants you to do whatever she wants. I guess that sounds a little more like defensive. She's just really good at applying pressure too.
Yeah.
So if you're not being careful, if you're not being watchful, she's just gonna throw roasters at your face. She's gonna throw ice dragons, and your Christmas will be ruined.
It's hard to punish especially when TaiwanNinja is zoning as well as he is. Like, look how far he is. So if he throws out some punches and you're not perfect on your punish, it's gonna be really tough.
Yeah.
Coil's movement is so tricky because she can just change her height from high to low. And yeah, oh, this might be a perfect. Wow, after MessyRoom's best round, last round, this might be her worst.
This might be curtains, and it's going to be with TaiwanNinja getting a perfect.
Yeah, I don't think MessyRoom, this is like, I think TaiwanNinja is definitely more favored in that match, but, you know, kudos to MessyRoom.
She made a noble effort. She did her best. It was absolutely wonderful. Congratulations to her, but TaiwanNinja is a very experienced player, and it just showed how quickly he overwhelmed her.
Okay, I think I'm actually stepping off stream, so
I'll miss you.
thanks for having me. You too. Thank you for commentating with me.
Ciao.
Maybe I'll see you all later. Thanks.
All right, so we've got me continuing onwards, and we also have my other awesome, wonderful friend who is awesome and cool.
What's up,
Yes.
Believe? Good
Hoi.
to be back.
Hoi, you did great.
Check your controls every time.
Oh! Oh!
You do not want to be stuck without the ability to grab. That's all I'll say.
Okay. We won't I was going to discuss your first match and how that went, but from what it sounds like, I understand exactly what happened there now.
Yeah, it was interesting.
You did great regardless of the fact.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
yes,
check your controls. Shout outs to Koo.
check out your controls. This message brought to you by
FIA.
FIA, NCR,
Fellows in Arms.
People who don't want to lose,
Yeah, just don't lose.
please.
So that set between TaiwanNinja and MessyRoom looked pretty brutal.
It was really hard for her. She's definitely a lot more of a casual player. She loves the community. She likes interacting. She's here with her brother, and they kind of drop by. She was like, why not? I'll compete.
Yeah.
TaiwanNinja, he is here to win, though. He is here for blood, and he's like, nah.
That is a
nah.
scary coil.
I'm going to punch you with roasters, and you are going to explode.
I was speaking with other people in the bracket, and everybody's afraid of Tai.
He is an intimidating player, and he also plays an intimidating character.
So we're going to be hopping into Kholdstare versus Pops. Pops was just commentating with you.
He was.
And so this is going to be a Min versus Cobra set. So Pops typically goes for the Toaster and Slapamander set on Min. And Kholdstare goes defaults Cobra, which is Hydra, Slamamander, and Coolerang.
Yes. Generally, Min, I feel like, will be advantaged here. But
Oh, you think that?
Min is definitely a very swingy character. Like,
Okay.
as I discussed a little bit earlier, certain characters can change their girth size. Min is that main one who does that. If she can get that charge and hold it, it's going to be a huge task for Kholdstare to get around, because she can just kind of punch through everything. It's just a giant arm. It recovers quickly, just keeps punching. And if it's the right arm that's charged up, it's just going to be dangerous.
So we have Pops standing up right now.
He is what... So there are multiple ways to play arms. I'm actually holding a single Joy-Con. That is one way to play. It's very casual friendly, but it's not... it's not going to be... It's not that big of an arm, or a big way to control. We've got Pops going with motion controls.
Yeah.
And then we also have the standard, like, double Joy-Con or Pro Controller.
Right. So yeah, you have lots of options. You can play it however you like in this game, but no option really puts you at a disadvantage.
No, they all actually work really well.
So even though Pops is rocking the motion controls, he should be able to hang pretty tight with anyone using a standard control.
Indeed. And we're going to see just, like, you can hardly tell the difference right here. He's moving really well. Applying pressure pretty well. One of the big differences between motion controls and controller is that Pops is going to have a lot more control over how he aims his arms, how the trajectory works.
So Kholdstare's locking him into some chill mix-ups. So that Coolerang puts him into a freeze effect that makes it very hard to move at all. So you can, from that chill effect, get either the grab mix-up or the hit mix-up. and you can mess up with people's timings, and it's just generally a pretty scary place to be against a jumping Cobra.
Indeed. And we definitely saw that Min Min is a character that definitely goes strongly one way or another. If Min Min gets control of the stadium, it's going to be incredibly difficult to push back. But if you're able to kind of hold them off for a certain amount of time, like for a little bit, generally they struggle a lot more without that Dragon Arm. And we saw that pretty much with Cold taking down Pops in that first round and getting a really strong start in the second round of this set. He's definitely going to just try to keep this ground and make sure that he stays dominant. Rush is a really interesting thing in this game, as it's very effective at being used as either an aggressive or a defensive tool. If you feel like you need to take control of the field back, you can use it to kind of push your opponent back. Even if you're just chipping shield damage, it does push them back a little bit, and you can use that to have more breathing room.
Yeah, you can use it for positioning as well as actual damage. Yeah.
And
So Cold getting that second round. That was looking pretty definitive. Pops is going to need to find an answer to this Cobra.
what would be a couple of nice ideas?
Pops generally likes to build a little bit more space for himself, so we have a counterpick stage called Scrapyard that I think might be interesting. Also, Temple Grounds has pillars. Same with DNA Lab. So we'll see which option Pops goes for.
I would definitely think Scrapyard might be a really good choice here.
Excuse me. Having a little mic issue. All right. So we are going to be launching into the second game. The Pops, you can see, is cut off a little bit on the camera because of the motion controls.
He's just missing his head. He's a headless armsman.
He's definitely my favorite player to watch play.
Motion control players usually are. It's absolutely delightful.
Some people have their more little subtle movements that they kind of like. They're sitting down and they make it pass as if they're just kind of relaxed. All right, we're going to be going to Sparring Ring. But yeah, as I was saying, Pops just kind of goes all out for it. And he's just a joy to watch. He has a little
Dance.
Yeah, he has a little dance. And he does a little sprinkler motion that Alex Villa was in love with when he saw it at Wednesday Night Fights. It was great.
I'm personally a big fan of dancing in my matches too. I just dance a little bit differently. And we're going to see Pops is going to go with a cracker here with the ram or the toaster. That I feel like that might actually work out pretty well.
Yeah, it's something to counter the Hydra a little bit better. And it's just a fast poking there.
And it's definitely worked out. We've got Pops having that charged toaster. I actually feel like the roaster might be a little bit better for that. Use the toaster defensively and have that huge hitbox from the cracker instead.
I was talking to Pops prior to this tournament, and he said that he really likes to stick with his arm choice, unless it's like guaranteed not to win. So the fact that he even switched to cracker is a sign that he realized that he needed to switch something up.
And I feel like he still might need to change things a little bit more. That cracker definitely not working enough with it being in its uncharged form.
Yeah, Kholdstare just catching on to Pops' movement, just eliminating all those options.
And we're going to start off Cold doing a little bit of a dance, switching from side to side, trying to be a hard target, making sure Pops is second-guessing his choices. Pop going to successfully land a blow and get charged, but Kholdstare's going to respond with a powerful Coolerang Hydra attacks to the face that just knock him down. And it looks like Cold's just got control of the field again.
And he's almost sitting on another rush. So this is just not the place that Pops wants to be in.
Look at those Cobra hugs. Strong snack. He is a very strong snack.
And now he's one hit away from death. Can Pops clutch it out? No,
Catches him in the air. And the strong snack Kholdstare is able to take it.
So that's going to be our last game. All right. So we're going to have a couple promos.
Going to be some delightful promotions going on.
So you can super mod your Conba Obsidian with Brooks's Universal Fight board, that is, supercharged with the fastest board on the market.
And once, as usual, 10% site-wide with the code NorCalBest at www.atarc.com.
All right, we have Arcade Shock plus Split Frame at NorCal Regionals at 2018. Save 15% store-wide on FGC parts and split frame gear. Use code NCR2018 at arcadeshock.com. All right, thank you so much for watching ARMS here at NorCal Regionals. It's been a blast being here. I've had a really good time, and we're going to be moving on to Killer Instinct next.
Ooh, that sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we won't be commentating it. We're ARMS. We're going to go do our ARMS stuff with our stretchiness.
Yeah.
This is Maleev. You can find, or signing off, you can find me at Maleev
And I am at TMF_HESS on Twitter. And check us out on at ARMS Central, the Discord. We have a pretty nice, healthy community going. And just look for ARMS stuff generally around the internet. We're on Reddit. We're on Twitter. And we've got a nice little community going for us. So thanks for watching.
Thank you.